This is Chad McDonald with RevivalFirewm Ministries, and before I get started, I want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button below. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Voice of Revival. Like and comment, and make sure that you follow us for fresh new content that we'll be uploading on a weekly basis. I want to talk to you for a few moments today that your pain has an expiration date. I know oftentimes it seems like we go through circumstances and situations and trials in our life where it seems as if our pain is perpetual. But I want you to know today that no matter what it is you're going through, maybe it's a mortgage situation, maybe it's a financial situation, maybe it's a medical situation, maybe it's a family situation, maybe it's a marital situation. Whatever your situation is, your pain has an expiration date. God has already ordered your future and ordained it from the foundation of time. If I were to ask you to look back on yesterday or the day before and ask you if you were able to change what happened in the past, you would tell me that it would be impossible to change what happened in the past. Why? Because it's already happened. In the same way that it is impossible for you to change yesterday because it's already happened, it is also in the very same way impossible for the devil to destroy your future. Why? Because your future is hidden in God. Your future is already ordained in God. It has already happened. And because your future has already happened, no trial, no circumstance, no tactic of the enemy can change the future of a child of God, because God has already ordained it from the foundation of time. And therefore, because your future has already happened, it has an expiration date to your pain. And I want you to know today that your pain has an expiration date. You're coming out of this thing. You know, today is the Saturday after Good Friday, the Friday where Jesus was nailed to the cross, and we're waiting on Sunday morning, that great resurrection morning. But here on Saturday, Saturday was the day of great doubt. Saturday was the day of great trial and worry for the disciples, because they had just buried their master, they had just buried their Lord, and now it seemed as if they were all alone. And it seemed as if midnight had reigned supreme throughout all of Judea. But I want you to know that even there in the midst of that situation, when it seemed that the darkness could get no darker, the enemy made a drastic mistake when they thought that they could kill the Prince of God and bury him in the tomb. Why? Because the Bible even tells us that if the devil had understood what he was doing when Jesus was crucified, he would not have crucified the Son of God. Why? Colossians 2:15 tells us that when Jesus descended into the depths of the earth, he destroyed and spoiled principalities and powers. He made a show of them openly, stripped them of their goods, spoiled their power and their possessions, and made a show of them openly, and triumphed over them through the victory of his cross. I want you to know today that the devil has been destroyed and stripped and mantled and paraded through embarrassment, through the defeat of God, through the triumph of the cross of Jesus Christ. And no matter what it is you're going through, no matter what it is you're facing today, there is an expiration date to your pain. The devil thought that he could write the obituary to the Son of God on Friday, but he had to rewrite that story in the headline of the Jerusalem Post, because on Sunday morning he rose from the dead. And I want you to know today that the enemy, that the devil, every assignment of the enemy that's been sent against your life, has tried to write your obituary. Maybe they've written an obituary over your marriage situation. Maybe an obituary has been written over your business. Maybe an obituary has been written over your ministry. Maybe an obituary has been written over your children, or your finances, or your health even. I want you to know today that there is a divine interdiction coming on your behalf, and it's coming your way. And every headline that the enemy thought that he would write to announce your defeat, God is going to force him to rewrite those headlines, because I've got to tell you today that Sunday morning is coming. It won't be midnight for long. Joy comes in the morning. Hold on, my child. Joy comes in the morning. And I'm telling you right now, there is a resurrection coming to your situation and to your circumstance. I want you to be encouraged, and I want you to understand this, that all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. All things. Even coronavirus pandemics will be forced to praise the name of the living God. All things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. Why do all things work together for your good? Because your future has already been ordained. And so no matter what the tactic is, no matter what the trial is, no matter what the circumstances are that has been sent against your life, even though it might look bleak, even though it might look like there's no hope, no help, and no cure, God is going to force the very forces of darkness that have planned your destruction and defeat to give glory and praise to the name of God. I want to leave you with this final thought. You can remember the story in the book of Kings where the Bible says there was a great famine in Israel and God was feeding the prophet Elijah by the brook. The Bible says that every day the ravens would bring the prophet meat and the prophet would be fed there at the brook. And every day the raven would show up. How on earth did the raven show up with meat that's been prepared for the prophet to eat if it was in the midst of a famine? Because in the midst of a famine, the only people that eat are the rulers. Oftentimes in the midst of a great famine in a nation, it's the power structure. It's the despots, it's the rulers of the regime that make sure that they have enough food while the people starve. And it was there in that circumstance and in that situation, that season of Israel, that the people of Israel had no food in the midst of that great famine. But it was there in that situation, in that season, that Ahab had hoarded food for himself. And in fact, the Jewish rabbis and sages actually teach and write that it was there in that season of famine that Ahab would eat every day in the king's palace. And every day a raven would fly in and would take meat off of the plate of the king. And that raven would fly over and drop that meat off to the prophet Elijah. Every day he would be fed from meat from the king's table in the midst of a famine. As a matter of fact, that the ancient rabbis write that Ahab got so used to and so disturbed at the ravens coming in every day to steal food off of his plate that he had tried to stop it for so long, but every day he would fail at stopping the ravens coming in to snatch that food up and to take it off to the prophet of God, that eventually Ahab had given up and he began to set an extra plate there at the table so that the ravens could come in and take from that extra plate. I want you to know today that even in the midst of a famine, even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of a situation when it seems like everything is shut down, everything is empty, and everything is hopeless, I want you to know that even in the midst of a famine, God is going to force the enemy to feed you. It was even there in that season of famine that God forced Elijah to be fed by the hand of his enemy. And I want you to know today that when you serve God and you understand that all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose, it is in that season that even in that midst of famine, even in that midst of despair, God will force the devil to pay your bill. God will feed you steak at Morton's, steak at Ruth Chris, and make the devil pay that bill. Why? Because he'll make sure that a raven is sent to feed you, even in the midst of these times. I want you to know today that it might look like it's been buried in the tomb. It might look like your hopes and your dreams and your future has been buried in the tomb. But I want you to know that there's a resurrection day for you in the morning, and you're about to get up. May the resurrection power of God touch you today in every situation and every point of your body. May you be healed in your body. May you be delivered in your mind. May your dreams and your visions have the breath of God breathed upon them. May resurrection power come to every area of your life. Because Jesus got up on the third day, and because he lives, you can live also. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us at www.RevivalFirewm.com and follow us on social media at RevivalFirewm. God bless you. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.